Welcome back, everybody. In this video, our focus is going to be lesson number 60. And in lesson number 60, obviously there are going to be some things I want to talk to you about, but nothing in particular that is going to be new, I believe. Just some things that need to be pointed out to you. So we are in a time signature of 3/4. So the first measure, the rhythms, will be 1 and 2, 3, followed by 1, 2, 3. And then again measure 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You have a quarter rest in measure 2, 4, 10, and 12. And that is actually from the third voice that enters just for those measures and immediately exits out of the piece. It's just to account for the accompaniment, which is 2 notes. Again, we're looking at measures 2, 4, 10, and 12. So, for example, in measure 2, you play these 2 notes, B and D, and then you play F and G together. Okay, so there needs to be a quarter rest for those 2 notes to complete the 3 beats in the measure for that voice. So there's that, in case you were wondering. He does mention in that small body of text that when you play those measures, you want to make sure that the accompaniment, in this case in measure 2, the F and the G, are not very loud. And at the same time, you want the note in the melody, that D in this case, to be nice and clear, and to make sure it rings over the course of the measure for its full duration. I mean, it is notated as a dotted half note, and that's going to apply again to measures 2, 4, 10, and 12. And those are the only instances where you have a third voice. Otherwise, it's just top voice, bottom voice. So now let's talk about the melody. Even though there are only 2 voices, it does sound like there is a third voice in there. For example, in the beginning, when we are playing this, okay, it sounds like the melody is just going to be the high E followed by the C on the third count of that first measure, and then D in the next measure. So it sounds like bum, bum, bum. And then these 2 notes are just would be, I guess they'd be that third voice. Hopefully you can hear how those notes are on top, and then those 2 other voices are just kind of in the middle. I'll do it one more time. And then again, measures 3 and 4. Just like that. So I would like you to emulate that in your playing. Now I want to jump to measure 6. In measure 6, we have an A flat. So if you remember from one of the previous lessons, we did go over flat signs. Flat signs are going to move a note 1/2 step backwards. So in this case, if we have an A with a flat sign, this is your A, that flat sign is going to move it back to the 1st fret. So this is now A flat. Okay, and this is going to be the note you play in measure 6. So in measure 6, you have from the beginning, I'm just going to name them note by note. A, C, followed by A flat. Now, about this measure, when you play this measure, every time you come across it happens twice. Measure 6 and 11, 12, 13, measure 14, they're identical. When you get to these 2 measures, I want you to put your first finger down on the 3rd string and the 2nd string. So you're going to do this bar. You don't have to worry about the 1st string because there's no note being played on the 1st string. So just focus your pressure on the 3rd string and the 2nd string. And then you're going to put your middle finger down on the A, like this, while your first finger is pressing down on both the 3rd string and the 2nd string, so that you're playing, it looks kind of like this. The reason I want you to do this is so that when you play the A flat, it's gonna sound more legato, because the music tells you to play first finger. So you're gonna play C with according to the music, it tells you to use your first finger for C, first finger for A flat. And this he doesn't tell you to bar. We are doing the same thing that the music is asking, but the music isn't asking you to bar. That's going to be a lot more smooth than that. Hopefully you can hear it. And plus the jump there's going to be a break there if you have to lift your finger off of the note you just played to play the next note immediately after it. Okay, so you're going to bar, like I said, apply pressure on both the third and the second string, and then you're just going to lift your middle finger off, and your first finger is already going to be on that A flat. All right, now continuing with this measure, there's a couple more things I want to mention. When you play this C, what I want you to do with your right hand is I want you to stop the A with your index finger. Let me show you. When I play that C with my middle finger, my index finger is going to stop the A from ringing, the A that's on the third string. Just like that. Try to avoid that nail noise that you might have heard. There you go. Okay, so that's the first thing. Well, I guess it's not the first. We've been on this measure for a while, but that's the next thing I'm mentioning. When you play the A flat, you're going to stop your thumb. You're going to stop your fifth string with your thumb, and then the second string with your middle finger. If you notice, underneath that A flat, there is a quarter rest, and that quarter rest is applying to the bass note. So the composer doesn't want to hear the bass note over that A flat. Obviously, because we have an A with an A flat, right? That just doesn't sound nice. It doesn't sound right, especially in the style of composition that we're playing in. So again, you're going to start with muting the A when you play the C, and then you're going to mute the C and the A. Oops. Your thumb and middle finger are going to mute these two strings when you play the A flat. So in real time, it would sound like this. You hear how that A flat is completely isolated? That's all you hear. Oops. And then what I would like you to do, and this is not notated in the music, you're going to keep that A flat down when you play G, and then you're going to let it go when you play the G natural on the third string. So what we have here from measure 6 to measure 7, we have a descending chromatic line. We have an A followed by an A flat followed by a G. And if we can connect those two notes together, specifically the A flat and the G, it'll just sound more pleasing to the ear. You hear that? So here's your A flat, here's your G in the bass. So you're going to kind of hear them both together. No big deal. And then you hear the G immediately after the higher octave G, the G on the third string, since we're playing a G in the bass too, right? Right? And then you continue. Again, I hear the melody being make sure the G's ringing when you play the accompaniment, and the accompaniment should not be that loud, right? Same thing, and then that's going to take a lot of practice, because again, when our fingers aren't doing something, when they're not playing notes, they are doing something else. So when they're not doing something, they're actually doing something, right? So work on that. So this one, just focus on the technical aspects. Don't worry about the dynamics so much or the tone color. Just get all of those technical things, because that is a lot that I'm asking you. It seems simple enough, but your brain is going to be all tied up in knots. Because this is a very new concept. Muting strings, not just with your thumb, but with your finger, and then muting two other strings, it can get complicated. So that's lesson 60. Yeah, and I'll see all of you in lesson 61.